look at the journalists that were awarded. 17 journalists in total. And the Media Council also came out, and Maina, the chairman, released a statement. He also said, we recognize that this is a timely recognition, as it creates a feeling of vindication from the term Githeri media to people who can be trusted to inform, educate, and entertain, which is the core of journalism. This is what he said, the chairman of the Media Council. Let's look at the journalists. We have got Chemutai Goin of Citizen, Purity Museo of KBC, Dr. Marcy Korir of KTN, Tabitha Rotich of Citizen Radio, Nasibo Kabake of the Daily Nation, Vincent Atea of Radio Citizen, Jeff Kuria of Inoro, Enoch Sikolia, Citizen TV, Robin Jogu, who's the managing editor for radio at Royal Media Services, Citizen TV, Asha Mwilu, Nelson Aruya, Citizen TV, Angela Okech of Nation Media Group, Faith Mailu, Philip Ogola, Caroline McKenna, Rebecca Mutua, Veronica Atieno, who've also worked in media in various ways. For example, Philip Ogola is very active on digital platforms on promoting information on healthcare. Now, this is what the Media Council said, that they recognize this, and they say the Media Council of Kenya delightfully congratulates the following journalists for their excellent work in the coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic, and recognizing that they have also been recognized by the highest office in the land, the Office of the President, and they've received the Mzalendo Award. However,
there's always
the
one
question comes, how many of these have come from one media house? And that's where now the bone of contention comes in. And then the selection criteria also starts emerging. So when you have journalists from one media house dominating the awards, are you saying that this one media house has done more exemplary work in terms of highlighting the issues of COVID-19, in terms of creating awareness for COVID-19 and rallying the public towards the fight against COVID-19? Hey, that has brought in, big conversations in the media and also in the entire public domain. In who exactly are we awarding, who are we recognizing, and why are we recognizing them, and what exactly have they done to deserve this award? Let's speak to some of those veteran journalists now, okay? And one of them is Kwamchetsi Makokha. Kwamchetsi Makokha is a journalist, he's a critic, he's a satirist, he is a journalism lecturer as well. He has taught journalism. Kwamchetsi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
And thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
I'm also going to bring in Maina. He is a reporter, commentator on social matters, and is also the chairman of the Media Council of Kenya. Maina, good morning. Maina Mwirori, good morning. He's put the phone down for a bit. I think he's warming his tea. Kwamchetsi, let's begin with you. What's your reaction to the awarding of the personalities who were awarded by the president with the Mzalendo Award?
First of all, just to recognize that the president makes these awards in the name of the people of Kenya.
Okay.
Yep.
And my own conclusion is that he has not been the best husband of that resource historically.
Because of why?
He's awarded people whom generally we don't have consensus that have made huge or important contributions. Like that guy who was eating githeri out of a paper bag. But be that as it may, there are also instances, when he has done things that, we agree with when he awards Eliud Kipchoge after his world achievement.
Yeah.
Obviously, we associate with that, and we are very proud of that. But coming to specifically these awards, my beef with them is that they have lined up government loyalists and civil servants at the expense of recognizing people who are actually making outstanding contribution. And when now you put journalists into that mix, it really creates a conflicting feeling, specifically because there's an adversarial relationship between journalism and government.
Yes.
So when you begin recognizing some journalists, and by the way, Mercy Korir, all the guys who've been recognized are outstanding even before COVID-19. But when you now begin to recognize them as government, given also the not very good record that we had from Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, you unfortunately place the mark of Judas Iscariot on their foreheads. You are basically saying that these people have been working for government, and that's not a very good thing to do, because government has some of the best journalists in its employ,
I think
both at State House and at the ministries.
Kwamchetsi, let's first of all expound on that one. When you say that when you look at the awards, this is a government that's awarding loyalists and civil servants, explain that. Just looking at the list of the people who've been awarded, we've got a CEO
Yeah,
of
there are people who
Kenya
are-
Breweries, Jane Karuku. We've got Dr. James Mwangi.
Yeah.
He's not a
Yeah.
civil servant. We've got Washiro Aroro. He's not a civil servant.
He donated 300,000 shillings personally.
300 million.
Yeah, 300 million. Sorry,
Yes.
I mix up the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can instantly see the kind of thing. That's the criteria that the president considers as service. I know Lois Ombajo is doing a great job at infectious diseases, but I'm also a bit injured, because at times like this, I wonder. Yes, there are those some doctors, some of whom are doing work behind the scenes, but in my view, where people like the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board, who have generally had grievances about their welfare and the welfare of health workers, before he moved on to his new assignment, somebody like Ouma Olago was very clear. He said, this is not the time to talk about welfare. We are at the front line. We are in service. And, they have suspended their own well-being. Yeah, they said, look, this is now not about our well-being. This is about our service, and this is what we are doing. So now when I begin seeing the people who are heading government positions or government appointees like Jane Karuku, yes, she's at Breweries, but she's heading the COVID fund.
Yeah.
You are very conflicted. You're very, very conflicted about that, because
I'm struggling to understand your confliction, Kwamchetsi. So here it is.
my conflict is that you are not recognizing the people who need to be recognized.
Okay.
Are you saying that the people who have been recognized do not deserve the award? Because if
No,
we talk
I am
about,
saying
let's talk about Dr. James Mwangi.
There are people-
Let's talk about Dr. James Mwangi, for instance. So he has donated his and his family's personal fortune, 300 million shillings, and said, I want to donate this to Kenya and Kenyans to the fight against COVID-19. Is that not something worth of recognition?
It is. But now the downside of that is that it means if I had 500 million shillings to donate, I could very easily buy myself.
You would be on the list.
Right?
Yeah.
That is very discomforting. The fact that you can buy this award, that I don't think that the Kenyan people are saying that when they give this award.
Can we also look at
Yeah.
can we look at the selection? The idea in the minds of many is that there is the president looking across the Kenyan landscape in terms of those who practice during a particular season, and he himself makes this selection and says, I've noticed this individual, that one or the other. Is that the case, or does he do this at the advice of people around him?
Actually, the practice has been that national awards have previously been in the deputy president's office.
Yeah.
There's a whole committee that advises the deputy president, who then forwards these names to the president.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what has happened in recent times, because, I think everybody in Kenya has a consensus that, for example, the head of state commendation had become one of the most abused awards.
Everybody has one.
Ridicule. Yeah, there's a procedure. One of the things about the Constitution is that it actually makes provision for how those selections are supposed to be done.
Yes.
So if we were following the law and the Constitution, we wouldn't be in this crisis.
And,
We would not even be having this conversation.
maybe what you can do is actually, let's just, for the sake of our audience, talk about what is the procedure of recognizing people to receive the presidential awards, the national awards.
The Constitution basically says that the president makes awards in the name of the people.
Yeah.
And there's a national awards committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, which sits and thinks through all these things and says, and sometimes they can fast track, especially when you're in a crisis like COVID-19. The committee can fast track and sit there and say, this this requires, these are heroic moments, and there are people who stepped up and they've done this and the other.
Yeah.
Eliud Kipchoge, for example, he did his marathon. It's 1:59, 1:59:59, and within a few days, he was being awarded. So there are certain things that might jump the queue because they're exemplary.
Yes.
And I think, you need to give the committee that leg room and that leeway to be able to make those decisions quickly. But there is a procedure. There's a legal procedure that needs to be followed.
Let's bring in now Joseph Maina, who's also on the line. Joseph, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
The conversation we are having is we are looking at the merit for presidential awards and specifically looking at the Mzalendo Award. What's your view on this, just off the top?
And specifically looking at the awardees in the journalism fraternity, because I think that's where I can talk more authoritatively. I feel that the communication we received from the government through the Gazette notice did not clarify why the people in this list received this award. Because it only gives a very general description that these persons have helped steer the country through the pandemic, which is fine. It's not contentious that this journalist listed here deserved an award also of some sort. My contention, however, is why they had to be this particular 17. Why the 17 were chosen and not others from the thousands we have accredited to practice journalism in the country. I feel that the Gazette notice and perhaps the press release from the Media Council should have shed some more light on why, or the metrics used in determining who deserved this award. My contention is that we have a lot more journalists who are also performing similar functions in different capacities and perhaps not as visibly as the few we have here.
Do you think that those others who may have contributed did a better job than those that were on the list?
I'm not in a position to say that they probably did, but I think the criteria should have brought that out. My feeling is that we could have journalists, radio, TV, and print, who are in far-flung areas and who are probably communicating to places ravaged with illiteracy and so on, and so the impact of their message is probably more felt in those particular publics they serve than the 17 who my feeling is that they are more visible to the powers of the day.
Okay. I think you're both saying the same thing, although now Kwamchetsi is saying that in his feeling, the people who are being awarded here are basically being rewarded for their loyal service to the administration. Is that so, Kwamchetsi?
Perhaps. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm basically saying is, especially what Joseph is saying is also true, and that is that I'm not saying that these journalists who've been awarded are loyal, but you create that impression, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, you can create that, and that's a very unfortunate thing to labor under as a journalist. Journalists are supposed to be independent. The moment, and government is one of the things, one of the institutions that journalists are supposed to watch. The problematic with this is that when you begin awarding journalists that you like, you rob them of that independence. You are a government-recognized journalist rather than a journalist who holds the government to account. And now, I mean, in even another forum, I was basically saying there are people who basically have helped us to understand even where there's malfeasance or suspicion of malfeasance around the use of COVID funds. I have Francis Gashuri in mind. And Francis is, he was outstanding as many other journalists. But when now you exclude people like that, we begin sitting back and asking ourselves, especially in the absence of a criteria, we begin asking ourselves, are the people who are reporting suspected malfeasance at the Ministry of Health being punished through exclusion?
Yeah.
Right? And for me, that is extremely disturbing. That is why I always think, like, journalists should be awarded by government, lifetime achievements, when you finished your work and retired and you can't write anymore, you can't broadcast anymore.
Yeah. Joseph, what
Yes.
what would you have liked to see as a procedure for first of all identifying the journalists to be awarded and for forwarding those names to the president? What procedure would you like to see followed?
Number one, I think we should have very clear communication. The government ought to be clear when it says that we are rewarding journalist X, and this is the reason. This is the reason why we are not awarding journalist Y.
Okay.
This is also the reason why we've settled on a figure of 17. We have picked 17. Perhaps because that's how much funding we have, or
How much space we have on the page?
Perhaps. For whatever reason, they settled on 17, and I contend that we have more than 17 journalists who have been talking about COVID-19 and in very excellent ways.
Do you think media bodies, for example, the Media Owners Association, the unions of journalists, the Media Council of Kenya in particular, should have a role to play in vetting or identifying people to be awarded?
Some commentators said that this is an ongoing conversation. I think all these bodies ought to be brought on board, and they should also be involved in some way. Although at this point, from where I see it, I can't say whether Media Council, the Editors Guild, and other representative bodies were involved. But I feel that they should also be involved. This should not be a government affair. We should not leave it to government mandarins to dish out these awards. I think they should be given on a merit basis, and the best persons to do that are the bodies you talk of.
Right.
I also have a problem with the Media Councils. The statement itself only goes ahead to praise or to congratulate these few, without delving into the question of whether these awards ticked all the boxes that we need ticked when we are awarding people. Yeah, I think that should have been raised at some point by the Media Council.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we see a situation where some of these bodies, journalism bodies in the country, would then be able to work hand in hand with government to make these selections? And not just on selections, but even to make them aware of the work that is being done in journalism across board in the country. Is it about time this partnership became serious?
Yeah, but I think there should be some form of independence. Even as the government collaborates with the Media Council, there should be, the Media Council, for instance, should be left to assess on its own and probably provide the list of who it feels was best placed to receive the award based on professional considerations. I think we should not leave it to statecraft to determine who gets awards in journalism. Other professions, I think, are jealously guard their turfs, like medicine and law. I don't think you'd get these in the legal profession. The Law Society of Kenya would step in my thinking, and pick on its own.
Well, we've never had them raise issue or even congratulate those who receive presidential awards in the past. I'm sure many of the recipients of these awards are lawyers and doctors and engineers and accountants. And maybe these organizations do not really participate in this. I think the issue also takes us back to what Kwamchetsi was saying. The Constitution has set aside, has spelled out that the president shall create the awards, and also says that there shall be the committee that looks and vets and advises the president on who deserves an award. And basically, I think the whole issue is the clarity of versus opacity of the whole process. When does the committee sit? How does the committee receive, information, nominations, or even recommendations from members of the public? I could be sitting here and I think I know somebody who deserves state recognition, and I have no way of forwarding this to the top, Kwamchetsi.
Yeah, precisely. And also the thing about nominations is that journalism is a public-facing service. So my own thinking would not even be that the Kenya Union of Journalists and the Kenya Editors Guild, to which I belong, both of which I am a member of, should dominate the selection of journalists. The effect of journalism is felt in the citizenship.
Okay.
So if actually there was a way of harnessing the contributions of journalism to the national good, it becomes self-evident. Sorry to keep on going back to Eliud Kipchoge. When you do good, it becomes self-evident. If you actually went and did a straw poll on the streets of any town in Kenya and said, name for me the 4, 5, 6 journalists, you might actually come up with some of those names that the president has awarded.
Yeah.
But people recognize them for the things that they have done. And so sometimes democratizing that award process takes away this suspicion and the fear that a very important national process is being instrumentalized, politicized, and abused. Yeah.
So if, as we say, this one now it's been done already. Likelihood of any of these decisions being retracted is slim to none, right? So moving forward, and in reality, and this is for both of you, is it possible that then these bodies can be incorporated in the decision-making process based on what we are seeing and based on what people are clamoring for? Can it actually happen where government works hand in hand with bodies to make sure that even the selection can be seen as completely transparent and it can be seen as one that is not working on favor of particular individuals whom are known, but goes across board to make sure that they are given out on purely merit?
I don't know if I can go first.
Yes, go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
I am fortunate. I'm very fortunate because I have the advantage of having served also as the former Chief Justice's communication advisor.
Mhm.
And I believe that government and media needs to have a Chinese wall. This business about partnership is just language for compromising the media. So, yeah, people should just do their thing. Government should do its thing. Media should do its thing. And when it comes to making awards, I think, my top of my mind, I don't think Hillary Ngweno has an award. But, when you are sitting back and looking at the various fields of activity, anyone sitting, whether they are journalists or not, can sit and say, well, we haven't awarded anyone in journalism. Who are the outstanding people? And, believe you me, the guys who used to do KBC or whatever, if you are looking for outstanding people, you will find them.
You will find them there. True.
Yeah, so my view is that actually Kenya Editors Guild, Media Council, they should not be in bed with government. It is incest. It is bad. It's bad professional practice.
How do you draw that line, though, Kwamchetsi? For example, you at some point you were working in media, you are working as a journalist, and then you scale that Chinese wall, go into working with somebody who's a direct government person, official, and then after that you come back. How do you distinguish the lines between when I moved in and when I came back out?
You declare.
Okay.
And
are you able to shed that jacket and say, well, at this time, I am basically working as a journalist. I'm looking forward to, like that across the wall to the government, and at this point I am government, and I'm therefore want to.
Absolutely. Our two great ambassadors, our man in Canberra, Isaiah Kabira, former KTN boss, former PPU director.
Yep.
Excellent journalist. Up to today, if you tell him to do journalism, he'll do a brilliant job. But right now, he's an ambassador and he's working for government.
Yep.
Manoa Esipisu. Yeah, great journalist, CNN, Reuters, everything travels the world. He came here, he was able to shed that jacket and say, he's a government spokesperson. And there is no conflict. And I think we should not be able to say people can't go back. once you've gone into government. You can go into government. Washira Waruru is a brilliant example. Went, worked at the EU, did whatever, and then went back to the Standard, I think, Standard Media. Did a turnaround of the Standard and KTN. Did a turnaround at KBC. So I think it's also to be able to say it's not a religion. Your employer is not a religion. You can work for government today, tomorrow you can work for private sector, and you can be called back into government. There's nothing wrong with that. So we shouldn't also criminalize journalists moving back and forth, as long as they declare the interest. What I find objectionable is having people who are actually operating for the public interest and therefore enjoy the privileges of journalism, carrying water for the government.
Right.
That's a problem.
Would you describe that to be the case for those who work for KBC or those who work for the Kenyan News Agency?
I know people at KBC and the Kenya News Agency who are very professional journalists. They cover the government functions, but they also do the other thing, which is the usual. They have the usual struggles that we even have had, those of us who worked for private sector media. But they are still able to do public interest journalism. So I don't want to paint anyone with one broad brush and say, they are all working for government. I think journalists generally are trained to do public interest work.
And yet therein lies the danger with what you've just described, Kwamchetsi, because when you say that it should be very clear when you're working as a journalist, you're not in bed with government, we must also remember there are journalists who are employed by government. And if we do that, then we may not be able to draw the line.
Precisely, and I was using my own personal example as an illustration, which is, I was working for a government institution, an organ of state. And at that moment, then when I participate in the media, I participate as a guest. I am bringing something that, media feel that they can use, but it's identified and everybody knows. You account. You are accountable. The important thing about journalism, you have to be accountable. So all who are working as communication officers, Ministry of Transport, they are journalists here. Yeah, they help government to communicate. The people who are at State House are journalists here. They help the president to communicate, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a job. It's a very important job, right? Yeah, but it's not a religion.
Joseph Maina, what do you think of that, Joseph?
I think, as Kwamchetsi said, journalists are trained minds, so we know where to draw the line. It should be pretty clear, and one should be able to uphold their professional ethics, whether they're employed in the private sector, government, and so on. I don't think there should be conflicting interests getting in the way of one executing their role. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you for coming into the Situation Room. Kwamchetsi Makokha and Joseph Maina, veteran journalists. Thank you very much.
Great to speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.